Are we really about to talk our shit on this podcast?
You know I'm down for whatever.
All right. Ain't no turning back.
I can't worry about it, sis.
I've been dripping in the sauce, so I attract a lot. Trying to weed out all the fakes, cause I can't take a loss. All these niggas trying to play me like I ain't a boss.
Hey, this is your girl Shay.
And I'm Lo.
And this is another episode of the podcast.
So this week, guys, we talked to you last week. We talked to Icon. We talked about situationships, and then we went to we talked about friendships and cutting people off. So this episode, we wanted to talk about relationships, specifically being ready to settle down, being ready for a relationship, being ready to settle down, because you guys got to hear a lot of how we were in situationships, things we lived through, situations that we've had. So we wanted to talk about the evolution. Just because we're older now, we're more settled. Our friends are settled. You know, not everyone, but a lot of our friends are settled. So we wanted to talk about dating with intention and realizing when was the best time to settle down, because I think that's important right now. I feel like there are a lot of people who are either settled, they're either married, in a relationship like we are, or looking for love, things like that. So just to start us off, Shay, tell us, let's talk about dating with intention. So when was the first time you realized that you were ready to start dating with intention?
I would have to say, I'm not gonna lie. After I had my daughter, I felt like my whole mentality changed. I felt like I have to give and provide my daughter a new life. So my whole mindset just has to not only change for me, but for who is going to be in my daughter's life. So I think it takes a big factor into when it was time. I felt like at this point in my life, if I have a kid, ain't no more club hopping, dropping it. You know, I got to take responsibility what's mine. And anybody that I bring around her, I can't just be bringing around for fun. They have to have intentions of wanting to be in my daughter's life. So I felt like after I had my child, I felt like my whole mentality changed. What would you say yours was?
Dope. Mommies are dope. But for me, I don't have a little baby, at least not yet. But for me, so I can remember the time. So the end of 2016 was a crazy year for me. I was I had a situationship, and it was annoying, for lack of better words. It was a guy that I didn't really want to date, but we were dealing with each other. And I was in the moment of being in a situationship, and also dealing with friendships, getting in the first space where I'm figuring out I got to start cutting people off and changing. And so I made a decision that year on December 31st. And I know this is so cliche, but on New Year's Eve, I made a promise to myself. I blocked no more or old dudes, no moving backwards. So on December 31st, 2016, I can really remember this. So every year I write this list, and I put it in my Bible about all what I want for myself. So then that particular year, I sat down and wrote everything I want in a man, in detail, every single thing. I want to be attracted to him. I want him to be trustworthy. I want him to be honest. I want him to be hardworking. Just all the stuff that you say. But I wrote it in super, super detail because they say if you want to ask God for something, ask him with intention. So I wrote all this stuff down.
Very true.
I blocked every dude's number in my phone, old number. Blocked all the dudes' numbers in my phone at the time, old dudes in my phone. And I just said, from here on in, I'm going to date like people knew. I'm not going backwards, because that was my problem. trying to have like control over who I'm dating and like dating people who are familiar. So I'm like, at this point,
Yes.
I'm moving forward. I'm not dating anybody. Like, I was just tired, like, of the old stuff, like going through the old games, and I stuck to it. After December 31st, 2016, I never moved backwards. I dated new people. So that was like my moment. Like, it wasn't even like a specific horrible event. It was just like a New Year's Eve, and I didn't want to be with anybody. Like, you know what I mean? I didn't want to be hanging with like no dudes that I was talking to. And I just like stayed at home, wrote my list, fell asleep, and got up like, I'm starting anew. Like, that was it for me. So I mean, that was it. I couldn't go back no more.
Let me tell you what happened to me. So when I moved back, I don't know if y'all know, but we lived in Houston for a while. So when I moved back to Owensboro,
both of us together. So
yeah, me and Lo moved to Houston together. So when I moved back to Owensboro, you know, like you say, you don't go backwards. Well, I did go back because I'm like, you know what, just can't nothing else go wrong, you know. And I did have Sanaya, and after having Sanaya, I did want to do a couple things, but then again, I was like, you know, I want to keep myself together at the same time. So I went back to old things at the time, and the icing on the cake for me was one day, this person who I thought had changed, you know, I've been wanting this person to change for a while. I'm like, okay, it's been years using make people wiser. He's going to change. Well, something came up. I found out something, and that person was actually staying in my home. So once I found out this, I'm like, I am so tired. Like, after a while, everybody gets to a breaking point. Like, you would know when you get to a breaking point. So at the time, he was washing clothes at my house, and I was just fed up, girl. Stopped the washer. Clothes didn't even finish. Grabbed the clothes, threw them out. So he dragged his wet clothes all the way to where he was going. When I say the wet lines was all the way from the back door to the street, put him out. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going back no more. I called my brother, and I'm like, I can't do it no more. Like, I'm so exhausted. Like, I will not go back no more. And after that day, I did not go back. I was fed up. Like, I was so tired. And that's when I realized, okay, the next person I decide to talk to, I'm going to actually be with. Like, I want to be in a relationship 100%. Like, I don't want to play no more games. I don't want to juggle no more. I'm tired of juggling. You know, I can't juggle as it is. I don't want to juggle. I want to be in a relationship with just one person. That's when I knew, like, this is exhausting. That was
it really is, because you feel like you're going through all this stuff with no freaking return. And it's crazy because when you get to that point, like both of us talked about getting to that point, you ain't calling nobody. You ain't telling all your girls. You not making a big fuss. You telling people about what happened afterward. You just act on it. Like, I'm done. You know what I'm saying? I'm done. Them dudes that I blocked ain't figured out until they called, and they was going straight to my voicemail. Like, he had to drag his soggy clothes across town. Like, it ain't nothing to talk about. You just take your little mildew clothes and going about your day. That's the good part about, like, just being done. Like, we don't create a big fuss about it. It just is what it is. Like,
you just move on.
Yep. It just is what it is. Like, that's just that. So just like talking about like that, like, so we talked about like you cut somebody off or whatever, you were done, you moved forward. Do you feel like what changes did you make to yourself? Like, do you feel like once you were like, okay, I'm done, I'm over this shit, I'm done, what changes did you make? Like, did you make any changes to yourself? Do you just feel like you were ready and you started looking to date, or did you start like making changes to yourself in preparation to be ready?
I felt like at the time I didn't love myself, and I was like, you know what? I'm putting so much love into everybody, relationships, boys. Like, when have I stopped and put love into myself? So I kind of took a break. I took a break for about, I would say 2 years after that, just talking to people in general. Now, you know, I have my booty calls. But as far as just talking in general, like, I didn't have anybody that I wanted to be in a relationship at the time. Like, I just was like, you know what? I'm going to focus on me. I'm going to focus on my daughter. I got to do what's best for us. So I think working on myself, working on how I act, working on not to fall for the trick, because they always send a message. I'm a sorry message. I had to realize, like, did it all before,
Trying to reel you
heard it
back
again. Ain't no way. You might as well throw that fishing pole back out one more time. You ain't gonna catch me this time, because I'm so alert. So I think once I started seeing my potential, realize like I am a good female. I'm a great female, and I know the next person I get, when I'm going to give my all, they are going to love me. So right now, I just need to focus on me. What would you say about yourself, though?
I feel like, okay, so like even me talking about this situation, like leading up to New Year's Eve, I already kind of knew like what direction I was going in. So it wasn't even like I just woke up on December 31st like, oh, let's do it. That's when I like decided to act. But I was very much mentally preparing for it leading up to that. Like I always went, like when I was single, I would go long stints like being celibate. Like just like not having sex for long periods of time. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you might just slip because you feel like you need a little tune up or something. But I would go like long stints, and that particular time when I decided in December, I hadn't had done anything. You know what I'm saying? I hadn't dealt with anybody. Like all I was doing was answering my phone. So I was just answering my phone. So even when I got to that point, I had already knew, because I was like, I had already put my body up.
Yeah.
She was off. Yeah. She was turned off. She wasn't getting nothing. So it wasn't like a big thing for me, because I was already kind of like mentally preparing to get to that space. So I just was like feeling like, okay, like honestly praying for like who I wanted to be, like praying for peace and praying like for me to move past people, like praying for me to, focus more on myself. So I started like hanging out with my friends more, like, just going out, because I'm not a person who actually hangs out. Yep. So when people started inviting me places, I would actually go, show up, get cute, even if it was like nobody there, just to be out and to stay busy. Like sometimes people feel like you working on yourself. You gotta just be closed off. No, you don't. Like you can be actively working on yourself and still live. Like you ain't gotta be like a hermit. So I was already mentally preparing myself leading up to that. And then that particular day, I was like, okay, I know, and this is crazy. I'm about to say something about Steve Harvey, and Lori Harvey is out here fooling, but he made a comment about like you can't get a new car if you got one parked in your driveway already. And it's like, even if you ain't sleeping with these people, you talking to them on the phone. How you expect to meet somebody new and you just playing with these old boys? Like, these old dudes or boys, really, because if they were men, we wouldn't even be having these types of conversations. So how do you expect to get somebody new and you just keep answering the phone for his boy head? But stop answering the phone for him, because it's not going to go nowhere. If it was, it would have been, you know what I mean? So I stopped answering phones for exes and then move forward, because I knew like I need a new car in my driveway, and I need to get this, this little shooter out the driveway, because we ain't getting nowhere. Like that was really it for me. Like I don't know.
I think my biggest issue was I wanted to always go back to something comfortable. You know how you be in a relationship or a situationship with these people, and even though it's toxic, it's so comfortable, so you don't want to leave that relationship at all. And I'm like, this is so toxic. Shawnees, how could you want to stay in this type of relationship? This doesn't make any sense. So I had to take myself out of my comfort zone, if that makes sense, because I knew if I called this person, they was going to come. Even though they quote unquote love me for who I am, I didn't love myself. So I was looking forward to them. Like when they come over, I know I'm going to feel love. I know I'm going to love myself when I see them. I think it's a comfort thing with a lot of people, going back to what's comfortable.
Yeah. I think that was comfort. It was comfort for me. And it was also control. Like I
agree.
Major control issues. And because I have major control issues, I spent, up until the relationship that I am in now, I spent every relationship or situationship in the past talking to multiple people at one time. I never wanted to put my eggs in one basket, because I felt like I can't be disappointed if I still got him on the back burner. You know what I mean? Like, you think you be playing me? Yep, I got him. I can go him right now and we can talk normal. So I always just like shortchanged myself because I was trying to control the narrative all the time because I never was trusting enough to put my all into one person. And I mean, I don't want to know if it's unfortunately for me or fortunately for me or unfortunate for the other person that they disappointed me anyway. So I really didn't, I didn't really lose anything, but I never gave it a chance, real chance either, because I mean, at this point I know now if you talking to multiple people, you're not giving that situation a chance anyway.
Exactly.
So I always try to control the narrative. Like, I got another one.
Can't play me.
I got plenty more where you came from.
Can't get
I
me.
will not be played. I will not be played. So I think, that was me like relinquishing. That was the biggest change for me. Like relinquishing like that control was major for me because I went forever, my whole life talking to multiple people because it was it was my place of comfort. Like, so like let's switch gears. So we talk about like getting ready for a relationship, like dating with intention. So you prepare yourself for a relationship. You meet somebody. Okay. What changes about like how you are vetting guys, you dating? How do you vet them? How do you see like what's the difference in how you pick a man now? Like what are you looking for? What's the trigger for you? You know what I mean? Like, what is it about like somebody, the person that made you pick them, or what is it about the person that, or like, what are you like shutting down? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I feel like for me, I was a lot less patient when I started to date with intention. So you see something and I'm like, nah, next. Next. I am like, I dated, so 2016 I started this, and I started like to date with intention. I was celibate for a while prior to then. So January I started dating. Like I really started dating. Like I just started dating guys. I think from January to about March, I probably dated about 4 to 5 people. That's how like, and not at the same time. I was like, nope. I don't even think I made it past the second date. That's how like not tolerant I was. I was like, yeah, nope. Like, so were you like, did you find yourself to be more selective? Did you find yourself like ruling out stuff you used to, like you didn't used to?
I'm kind of with you, patience and understanding as well. Because on my end, I hate to keep saying it, like I had kids, and I actually took in a couple of my nieces at one point in time too. So it's like, look, I come with a full package. So either you can unwrap this full package, or you could just, return to sender, because I have a lot going on. So I'm always blunt when I was talking to somebody like, hey, this is what I have. Like, if this is something you like to do, or is it something you not want to do, let's go ahead and break that first, because we're not going to waste time 2 months later and you realize, oh, this is not what you're capable of doing. So I'll let people know up front, like, hey, this is what I came with. I came with me, my kids. It's a lot. I got a job. This is me. Can you take it? Because if you can't tolerate my family, then there's no point in having no conversation at this point.
Yeah, we ain't even got nothing to talk about.
There's nothing to discuss. So I think that was the one for me, family.
Yeah. That makes sense. So this is what I'm thinking about, like, so because we are both in relationships and we're talking about like dating with intention, it makes me think about like once you like pick a person, because we like start to date with intention, and then like we're dating and we're maneuvering through dating differently. We know what the signs are because we've already experienced them. You know what I mean?
Ma'am.
And it's so crazy because women, and it's crazy because Iquan said this, and I really believe it to be true. Like, we are the smartest creatures.
We are.
Until it comes to love. And a lot of times we know what's wrong immediately. And we ignore it.
Always.
Yes. And I feel like when I first started dating, like those first few dates, I wasn't ignoring it. I would have ignored it previously. That's what changed for me. I was like, I would have been like, ooh, like, but he real cute. Like, I don't know if I want to. I still don't know. Like, but yeah, he be like real jealous. It's cool, but he's so fine. Like, you know what I'm saying? I would be like that. And then it's like, then you end up looking crazy. You know, like, so that didn't blind me moving forward. I was like, oh yeah, you're real cute and crazy. Move along. Next. You know, like, move along. Like, so we think about like going through that type of situation, and then like we're both in relationships. So now you're in a relationship. And like, do you know like the honeymoon stage?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Everybody in
like,
a relationship hits that honeymoon stage. Everybody does. I mean, we floating at this point. Floating. Do you hear me? Floating high. Because he was like, oh my God, he's just so perfect. But once you get past the honeymoon, I would say the honeymoon stage for me lasted, I want to say, a good 3 months where everything was just going good. We're going on dates. You know, I'm getting gifts and I'm just all in love. Met the family. You know, I'm happy. You know, oh shoot, this is going to be good. And then it gets to the hard part. It's the jealousy, the insecurity. It starts to hit home afterwards. So I feel like my honeymoon stage lasted at least 3 good months. At least. It was nice too.
I'll say because we were like a little slow starting in the relationship, I'll say like our honeymoon stage probably lasted maybe 6 months.
Okay.
Maybe 6 months. But it's like, I don't think that a lot of people who, unless you are like tried and true to relationships, a lot of people don't even recognize that this is a honeymoon stage.
You
and
just
they
too
put
happy.
a lot of stock. Yeah, they put a lot of stock into the honeymoon stage, because when you in the honeymoon stage, that is not that person. Just like that ain't you.
That's correct.
Y'all both walking around as y'all representatives. Y'all not even y'all real selves.
I agree.
Y'all just sent the person to represent y'all. Like, yep, about to hook him. About to hook her. We just got to keep it together for a few more months. They gonna be in there. Like, that's how you get somebody. Then you going through the honeymoon stage, and it's only so long you can pretend.
Yeah.
And your real self start creeping out. And then once your real self start creeping out and that person ain't took off running, you be like, whoa, I didn't know. Let me take my coat off. We can relax now. Like, I'm here. I'm good. I'm chilling. So it's like, I think that's important for everybody to know. Like, the honeymoon stage is a thing, and don't put your relationship on that. Like, because I think sometimes people do put their whole relationship on the honeymoon stage, and then you go your whole relationship looking to get that back. And
Yes.
That's not realistic at all. Like, it's just not realistic. Like, it's never going to be, you have your in love moments, but you ain't going to just be walking around skipping. Y'all know each other. Y'all real people who have real problems that include more than just y'all smiling in each other's face. Like,
I agree. I honestly agree too. In relationships, and this is just me personally, everybody's opinions is different, especially older people. They don't believe in people living together without being married. But I honestly do not think you know somebody until you live with them. That's just me personally. And the reason why I say that is because me and my relationship now, like, I'm like, dang, you did this when you was in your own house? Is this what you did? But you don't, until you actually see it, because we can go visit somebody and we can stay all night and we can come back home and it's perfect. But when you actually live with somebody, I just feel like the whole relationship changes, because you're going to see this person from beginning to end, inside and out, no matter what. You got to wake up to this person.
You cannot hide at home.
You can't hide nothing. Like, it's it's all there,
your
all in the
butt
open.
stinking, they know.
Period.
Your breath stinking.
Deodorant rubbed off last night. You woke up. You know what I'm saying? They get you the raw and uncut
to
for
the
real.
pillow. They get to see everything. Oh my God.
Honeymoon stages,
so
I'm
true.
looking good every day. Every time you see me, I'm coming out. I'm making sure we going out. I'm looking good.
I had preparation. I know when you coming. I already know to be ready.
What time?
I got plenty of
Saturday
time.
at 7? Okay, cool. I'm getting my nails done, my feet done, my hair done for the date.
What?
Prepared sitters and all. Ready. Ready.
Out here tricking people. We all out here just be tricking people in the honeymoon stage because this is not what you're going to get. It's crazy that you said that you think people should live together, though, because I actually went to like a counselor who told me that he thinks that people should live together before. You know, he was like a relationship counselor. He told me that he thinks that people should live together before they get married. Because of that primary reason, like, you don't really know people. And it's like a lot of traditional people think that that's crazy. Like, why would you live with somebody? Why buy a cow when you can get the milk for free? Like, that's their favorite thing. But I feel like you should know. Because just imagine, like, 50% of marriages end in divorce.
Yep.
So it's like, so I don't live with him. Does that mean we're going to last? Does that mean we're going to last?
We're together
At
all
least
these
you can
years.
know what you get. Yeah.
Separated,
know
living
what
two
you
different
getting
homes.
yourself into.
That's the crazy part. Because people, I feel like they together, they go on these dates, and they go home. They in relationships 5 years, and they, hey, let's get married. And then once you get married, you live together. You be like, wait a minute, this ain't the person I married. It is the person you married the whole entire time. You just only see it in certain sections. You mean to tell me
this boy only washes his ass every 3 days? And I did not know that? He just been washing his ass on date days? He only washes... The boy been washing his ass
the night
only
before.
On date days. Only on date days. Ain't washed his ass near day. Go to work. Everybody know that he stink. You just is shocked. You didn't just found out because you done moved in. That's like, no. Nobody wants to experience that. Like, to each his own, absolutely, if you want to wait. But I definitely agree. Like, I think that you should learn to live with somebody. That's my personal opinion. You ain't got to agree with it. But if you find out your man likes to be musty every other day,
they at work calling him Stinky. You don't know it's his nickname. And you calling him Stinky, just thinking it's cute. And he really do stink.
Onion butt. Yeah. He walking around with onion butt.
What up, Stank? No. Yeah, he stank all right. Shit.
That's funny as hell. Oh, God. So, we talked about the honeymoon stage. What about, like, when you get past it, like... What do you feel like, what did you find noticeably different, like, in your relationship? And not, I mean, of course, we ain't got no funky men, but, like, qualities, like, what's different about, like, y'all dynamic? What do you think was different about, like, your dynamic once, like, y'all got past the honeymoon stage?
I realized my biggest downfall in a relationship would be I was so used to doing everything by myself that when I actually got into a relationship and my man is just trying to be there and try to help me, I'm shutting down. I don't need no help. I don't need your assistance. I don't need no help. I don't need nothing. I got this. What? The house needs to be clean. I got this. Bills need to be paid. I got this. Like, I just felt like I could just do it all. And until I got broken. Like, you are not the man. Like, you are not the man. Like, I think sometimes women, we get in these relationships, we trying to be the man and the woman. And it turns off a man like, dang, if you're going to be the man and the woman, what am I here for? So I think I had to step back and say, all right, Shawnee's, you got to chill. If he wants to do it, let him do it. If he say he's going to do it, let him show his actions. I'm not even giving him a chance to show his actions because if he's not doing it on my time, girl, I'm jumping and doing it automatically. Are you going to wash the dishes? Wash the dishes? Yeah, babe, I'm going to wash dishes. An hour later, the dishes ain't washed. I'm just going to go ahead and do it instead of being patient because maybe he was... giving the dogs a bath, taking the kids out, getting something to eat. Yeah. But I was just so impatient. I think that's my biggest thing. Plus, my mom was a single mom, so I seen her do every single thing. So it was like, my mama did it. I know dang sure I could do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how I was raised. My mama did everything. No questions asked. Like, she was a go-getter. So I feel like that rubbed off on me as well. And it was hard to take that into a relationship to say, okay, Shawnee's, I have help. Use the help that I have.
Yeah. I feel like that happens to, like, a lot of women. Like, unfortunately, there are a lot more single moms than we feel like there should be. And then you watch your mom. Like, that's your first role model. Women, like, if you have your mom in your life, that's your first role model.
Yep.
And then you see them, like, be superwoman. Like, do everything they can in their power, plus some stuff you probably don't understand how they made happen by themselves.
Yes, ma'am.
And then when you get older, you automatically put yourself in that mind space when not knowing that if mama ain't have to do that by herself, she would not have. Like, relax.
Yes.
Pipe down. Take your cape off. Like, stop trying to, like, mom always say, like, grown man syndrome. Like, okay, sir, chill out. She be like, young man, why are you trying to, then I'm looking at her, like, with attitude, but it's like everything that you said, like, we are so proud of our independence. And it's nothing wrong with being proud of your independence, but we are so proud of our independence that sometimes we don't want to relinquish it. But it's not relinquishing it if you have somebody there that's helping you. They not taking your independence.
Correct.
They lightening your load. Like, and I think that was a big one for me, like perspective change. And honestly, I'm still struggling with that part of it. And I got years in the game. And I'm like, because we grow up to have pride in that. To be able to hold our own and take care of ourselves and put ourselves in a position that even without, we would still be okay. And we become so prideful of that we are like,
I don't need you.
Yeah, you here. Yep, you here. And that's cool. Thanks. But just know that I can do this by myself if I want to. But it's like, nobody don't want to hear that. Nobody wants to keep hearing that you can do it by yourself if you want to. Like, then what you got me here for? I mean, I know that's probably like the male perspective. Like, what am I here for? Man. If you don't need me, like, what am I here for? So I know I really struggle with that. And then another thing that I struggle with, I found out that I had poor communication.
Okay.
I found out that I had poor communication, and not because of my unwillingness to communicate, because of how I communicate. I can be very abrasive.
So not basically not what you're actually saying, it's how you was saying it, how you was coming off. Okay.
Yeah, because I can be very abrasive, but I'm a very straight to the point person. That's me in general. And then on top of that, I'm not a person who really, like, I'm impatient. So I don't like to repeat myself. And it's like, you can't, that's a grown ass man. How you gonna not try to treat a grown man like a grown man and then expect him to be a grown man? Like,
correct.
You not getting the results you want because you trying to talk to this man like he not a grown man.
Yep.
Yes, he's frustrated. And it took me a while to understand that, and I'm still struggling with it every day.
Me too.
Because you don't learn years of habits and then just they all end in 6 months, 12 months. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's something that you have to grow through. But that was like, those were things that I didn't know were an issue until, like, I was in a relationship and got past that honeymoon stage. It was like, oh, like, I ain't got no problem. You got a problem. What you mean? I've been holding it down all this time. You the only person that got a problem with it. Everybody else think that this is great about me. What's your issue? You know? Like, so that was really like my struggle.
I think everybody struggles with communication. I honestly think, just my personal opinion, as far as with men, they do not like to communicate. They do not like any type of altercation. They feel like it's going to be an argument. They just slide. They won't say nothing. And I feel like if you don't speak up and say anything, how am I ever going to know? Like, sometimes I don't even see some of the flaws I have because I've been doing it for so long. But if you let me know, hey, this is what's bothering you, give me time to acknowledge it and work on it. But if you don't say nothing, how am I ever going to change? I think that's one of the biggest things in relationship is people do not communicate. And I feel like it could be so easy. So true. A conversation does not have to lead to an argument. We can have a civil conversation. We can talk like adults. You express how you feel. I listen. Yeah. I express how I feel and you listen. And I feel like it could be done, but I feel like in relationships, sometimes it could be a little complicated or too prideful. Yeah. People can be too prideful, and it's never easy. I think communication is always going to be a struggle in relationships because nobody really wants to hurt the other person's feelings.
That's true. And I've heard that most relationships end because of communication, but I'm going to play devil's advocate, especially for people with personalities like ours. I feel like sometimes people avoid confrontation with us. Because they feel like that is going to be confrontation. You know what I mean?
Okay.
They assume that communication is going to be confrontation, and so they're like, nah.
I agree. I used to be
Yeah,
like
just
that
because.
though. I ain't gonna lie. I used to
Yeah,
be
like what's
ready.
ready to go? like
Ready. Do you hear me? Round one. What you want? Cause I'm ready. I used to be like that. I ain't gonna lie. I used to be like that.
yeah, me too. That's why I know, and it's like I started my relationship off now like that. So it's like I'm telling somebody, I know it took a while for us to even have I feel like us to have a space where we both feel safe to communicate because I started out still snapping. And then now you like, no, it's okay. We're 18 months in. I promise you the next time that we try to talk, it's going to be then. And he looking at me like, girl, you done cussed me out 16 times. You think I'm about to believe this time all of a sudden the heavens rained down on you? You done did one YouTube beginner yoga and now all of a sudden you think that you about to talk to me nice? Like, no. It took me a while and I'm like, I'm trying and he ain't even trying to hear me. But it's like, why? You know what I mean? Like, it's hard. You just as many times as you took to cuss him out, that's how many times it might take for him to believe that you really trying to be calm.
I agree.
Like, you got to have patience from that perspective, too, to know that, like, and that's, like, on all fronts, women and men. Like, whatever you do in any relationship, it might take a while for people to realize, like, that you ain't gonna do it again. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, a friendship, somebody betray you, like, whatever it is.
Yep.
No matter what type, they might assume that it's going to happen again. I feel like that was difficult for me, too, because I'm like, I'm trying to speak calmly, and now you're making me upset because I'm trying to speak calmly, and you don't believe that I'm for real this time. And it's like, girl, you talking at this man. You just whispering it. You just whispering it.
I know one thing, and we're going to touch on later on love languages later on down the line in one of our episodes. But I honestly think one day I was reading all the different love languages, and I'm like, I'm going to send this to everybody that I'm close to because I want to see everybody's perspective. And you'd be surprised how people want to be loved. And I think with me in my relationship, especially the one I'm in now, I was trying to love my man the way I wanted to be loved. But the way I want to be loved is not the same way he would like to be loved. You know what I'm saying? So when I sent him the love languages and to see how he reacted to those was very, very interesting because men don't like to talk. They don't like to really talk about their feelings, their emotions. They hold it on their sleeve and it's okay. But if y'all send you these love languages and you send me these back, now I know how I need to approach you. And it's really shocking that it really did change our relationship because now I know, okay, this is how he wants to be loved. I can love him this way. Grown. I'm trying. I'm really trying.
You are so grown. Let me tell you how the grown man in me came out when we did love languages. So we did love languages. I'm thinking the same thing. Like, oh, I want to see. Like, oh my God, this is going to be so interesting. Girl, them love languages came out, and I found out that his love languages was not what I was doing. And I was like, as good as I'm loving him in the way that I want to, the nerve. In my mind. Like, I got so prideful.
Yep.
And it's like, oh my God, sis, it's so not about you.
Yep.
It's so not about you. It's not even nothing for you to be offended about because it's not a reflection of you. It's just information that you didn't know. But initially, I was so, like, offended. And I don't even know why somebody would be offended by somebody else's love languages. But I was so offended.
I was too. I'm like, oh, you thought you really liked this. You don't even really like this. You like this.
You don't
I'm
even like what I'm giving. Yeah, like, I've been doing all this stuff. I could have been saving this.
I swear.
Like, I've been doing all this and you ain't even want it? Like, are you kidding me? Like, I was so, like, taken aback. And then it was like, girl, it's not about you. It's not about you at all. It's not about you. That's such a good point. Like, that's such a good point. Like, we talking about like these relationships and all this stuff, and it makes me think of like just like the dynamics I have with different people in regards to relationships and stuff. What do you think are some common misconceptions that people have about like being in relationships or finding the one or like stuff like that? Like what's some things that you think that people think, but it's not really true?
Everything. Everything. I feel like people think that when they see people with pictures and they're smiling, they're going on these dates, that it's just all rose petals. I mean, and it's not. We go through things. We go through struggles. Y'all don't see the fighting because a lot of people like us don't put our business on social media. We're just not a social media person. So when you do see something, it is going to be the positive. But I think people struggle with, before it even gets good, it's going to always get worse. It's always going to be worse. You got to learn to, like we talked about, love the person for who they are and not who you want them to be. That was my struggle. That's pretty much it, though.
Yeah. See, for me, I feel like you're talking about being in a love relationship with somebody. For one, you got to know that that's going to be the most forgiving you're going to have to do in your life. You're going to have to forgive that person regularly. You're going to, that's the, like, you're not going to, there is no, like, you can't really, it's no space for you to just be holding on to stuff. Like, that just creates more problems. So, like, knowing that you are going to have to forgive regularly, that person is going to make you upset. And it might be, you know, a lot. Now, it shouldn't be every single day, but it's going to be more than you probably thought, you know, before you got into a relationship. And I would also say, like, that there is no such thing as, like, two people who just don't get into it. There's no such thing as, like, two people who don't get into it. Like, that's not realistic. Like, when you get into it with your partner, that don't mean that y'all not meant for each other. That y'all not meant for each other. You gotta just know that y'all gonna get into it. Like, y'all gonna fight. Y'all gonna argue. And I can, like, and it's just gonna happen. Like, I've experienced, like, in the past where people are judgmental of, like, other people's relationships. Of other people's relationships, and just judgmental of, like, fighting and arguing and things like that, or, like, just viewing their own relationship as negative because of fighting and arguing, and that's to be expected. Now, how you fighting, how you argue is what's to be expected, but it's like, just know that there is no such thing as, like, a perfect relationship. People are going to fight. People are going to argue. And don't let that, like, stop you from, like, getting into a relationship. Or, like, don't allow yourself to become judgmental of somebody else's relationship because they're fighting and arguing. That's really important.
I have something.
That's it.
I think my only advice I can give to relationships is whenever you're in a relationship with someone, definitely pick and choose your fights, like you said. Don't fight over the shoe being in the middle of the floor.
Yeah.
Don't fight because he's laying his clothes on him. He might be tired. Boston got off work. It might be exhausted.
Some guy told you to say that to me.
I used to want to argue over the smallest thing. I mean, I'd be waiting for him to drop that shoe on that floor right there in the middle so I could be like, why the hell did you drop that shoe? Like, I have learned to pick and choose my arguments. Sometimes when you even try to get into it, I'd be like, okay, it's my bad. You know, I'm sorry. I apologize. I didn't mean to come off that way.
Girl,
I try
put
to be
that
the bigger
down
person.
out your hand. Put it down. Oh. Lord have mercy. You was about to make me pull my edges out.
I can't believe you
Okay, go ahead. Sorry. Yes, I could. Jesus Christ. Everybody, we all could.
For real?
Yes. Girl, go ahead. Go ahead.
But yes, I basically, in relationship, I just try to really pick and choose my battles, and just know when it's really time for argument. If I feel like if it's nothing serious that's going to break our relationship, then we can work it out. We can have a conversation, let stuff cool down, come back later on when the situations die down and just be like, hey, can we just have a conversation? Instead of just reacting. I have learned to just think before I react. And I used to not. I used to just snap all the way off and did not care. So now I'm just trying to focus on what I'm going to say first before I say anything. So that'd be my advice to everybody if that's in a relationship or wanting to be in one.
Dope. Yeah, that advice was for me, so thank you, because I just was walking around slinging shit in this house because I had an attitude about where stuff wasn't, so God was trying to tell me something. Well, that was it, guys. We just wanted to talk to you about relationships and, like, just our journey and, like, getting started and dating with intention. I know I mean, I've recognized like a lot of people that I know personally are getting into a space where they are ready to date with intention. So I know we have already like kind of went through that journey. Hopefully we ain't going through it anymore. But we've already like went through that journey. So we just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about that and just touch base on like a couple of things that we've experienced thus far. By no means are we cooked. Because in relationships, you learn every day.
You are never going to stop learning in a relationship.
I might get an attitude when I turn this mic off. So let's just be clear on that. You just never know. It is very likely that I'm gonna be slinging some dishes in the sink. Who knows? But we wanted to leave you guys with this quote because we found it and we thought it was really, really dope. So. It's so many people desire to be in real relationships, but cannot even be in a relationship with themselves. You cannot give what you don't have, and you cannot receive what you aren't ready for. And I think that attributes to what Shay said at the beginning, just about how she had to find herself and love herself. And some of the things that I was trying to, just explain about, like, looking for the right person. And be clear though, it's a journey. It's really dope when you can be with somebody and grow with them. So by no means, and I'm not saying be done growing when you find somebody, because it may not just be realistic. Like, we are still growing now. We are growing on this journey with you guys. But with that being said, this has been another official episode
and another one
of NIU, the podcast.
Bye. I cannot believe you can hear me doing that.
I was about to kill your ass. I'm like,
what are you talking about?
Oh my God,
I didn't even realize I was doing
nuts.
I know.
I'm like, she don't get it. And that's why I was just like, I'm about to tell her, put that shit down. Put that shit down. Put that